What is up, everyone out there in podcast land? Is that what you call it? Podcast land? I don't know. I've heard some friends call it that, but welcome back to the show. I wanted to start out by giving a shout out to my boy Daniel, or Bonham, how we used to call him back in the day. The Conference Call podcast. Check it out if you have not. Very good friend of mine. He posted on his story, his Instagram story, about a candy I was talking about on the last episode. And just wanted to say, bro, it's not Abba Zaba. It's it's the same shit, though. It's little, like, taffy candies or some shit, but they're wrapped in, like, black, like, wax paper and orange wax paper. But I know what the fuck Abba Zaba is, because Abba Zaba, you my only friend. I'll give you $5 if you know where that reference is from. It's from a movie that I think it won that award for best movie ever made. But yeah, bro, it was not Abba Zaba. I definitely know what Abba Zaba is. It was something different. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'll try to find a picture and put it in my story so you guys know. But anyway, shout out to Conference Call Podcast. I was actually on that show, like maybe 2015. It was pretty dope. And I'm gonna get him on my show too. So go check him out. So what are we talking about? I recently discovered, maybe a year ago, something like that, that I have ADHD, and I have it pretty bad. Now, I'm not a doctor. I don't have a degree in any of this stuff. Like I've just kind of researched it because I started seeing like Instagram posts, and I know that sounds dumb, but like I just saw Instagram posts and it sounded exactly like me. And I started going down rabbit holes trying to figure out like if I had any of these symptoms. It turns out like I got like 90% of the symptoms of ADHD. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why I know I have ADHD. And I do have friends, and people I know that have been diagnosed. Like I've never been diagnosed. I'm not going to get diagnosed. I'm not going to take any meds for it or anything like that. It explains so much in my life. And I never realized it, never thought that that's what the problem was until recently. I thought it was fucking stupid. I thought my brain was just broken, but it's really not. I mean, my brain just works differently than a lot of people. But there's a lot of different symptoms that I go through on a daily basis. Like, and one of them is I will want to try something and want to do like a new hobby or learn something new, and I'll just like super like hyper focus on it and want to do it, and it's all I can think about is how I can make this happen. And then I'll do it for a while, and then that whole like rush of doing it just goes away. And that's why I try like all sorts of different hobbies, right? I will try all sorts of different things. Like I like to play music, of course, and I do that. I like to paint every once in a while. There's little hobbies, and that's why like I'm really good at a lot of different things, like 100 different things. But I've never mastered one thing, like at all. Like I've been playing music for like 30 years. I think I was like 15, 16 when I started playing. Like over 30 years I've been playing guitar, and I fucking suck at it. I still suck at it. Like I know how, but I still suck at it. And I have all the equipment. I know how to like record music, write songs, do all that stuff. I have all the means to do it. I just fucking start a project, get it kind of half done, and then I leave it. Like I have legit like 30 songs that are started and ideas and stuff like that. Not one done, not one finished. I tell people, oh yeah, I record music. Oh, let me hear something. I have nothing. Because I start things and I start projects and then it becomes a chore and I don't want to do it anymore. And that's what happened with the podcast. I mean, I wasn't going to give up forever, but I just didn't want to do it anymore. And then, I had a lot of stuff going on, and I just said, let me give it a break. And it just became way too much of an extended break. So that's what happened. But it's like I start things, and sometimes I buy a bunch of shit for things, and I get all fixated on it, and then I get bored. But music's been the worst one, though. Like I just really, really want to put out music, and I have the means to do it, but it just doesn't fucking happen. And that's the most frustrating one. Is I love music so much, and I love making music, but I can't complete a song to save my fucking life. But and going from like hobby to hobby or just things like that, like I heard it called like um, hobby hopping, right? I thought that was a good term for it. But that's what I do. And I'm good at a shit ton of stuff, but I've never mastered anything. I've never become like an expert at something. It's just I'm kind of good at a bunch of shit. It kind of reminds me of like Pauly Shore in Son-in-Law, right? I majored in it for half a semester. Fucking love Pauly Shore, man. Those old Pauly Shore movies are great. But anyways, like yeah, I was kind of good at a bunch of shit, because I would try it out for a little bit here and there. Also, I have a funny story about that too. Um, so I'd always tell my girlfriend, I don't know how to do something. So like I want to say it was golf. Like we were gonna go to Top Golf or something, and I told her like I'd never golfed before. Like golf is boring. Like who golfs? Old fucking men. Like fuck all that. I'd never golfed before, and we went to like Top Golf, and then I hit the shit out of a ball, and she was like, "What the fuck? I thought you said you've never done it before." But yeah, fucking I hyper fixated on golf for probably like 3 years, and I got really good at it. I even hit a hole in one time. That's a story for another time, but I actually, have a hole in one. Um, and I've done that before. I did it one time when we were going bowling. I was like, I've never bowled before, and a lot of you know that we used to bowl like crazy. We used to go to the bowling alley in Palmdale all the time, and I got pretty fucking good at it. So I think I don't know if I bowled a strike the first time, but when I threw the ball, she was just like, "What the fuck?" And then she already knew about baseball, so she knew I was good at baseball. But I think basketball that happened, and then one time she was like, "Let's throw a football around." And I played a lot of football when I was younger, so she threw a football to me. I threw it right back. It was like a spiral. She's like, "Oh, my boyfriend knows how to throw a football." I was like, "I know how to do a lot of shit, but and I'm good at a lot of shit, but it's just it is what it is." But I thought that was kind of funny that I always try to get her with that kind of shit. Like, how do you? I've never done that before, and I'm actually like really good at it because I hyper fixated on it for like a couple years. But yeah, I tend to do that a lot. And another thing that made me realize I have ADHD is I have really bad short term memory, and I've always called it like a selective memory. Like my brain chooses what I remember, what I don't remember. I don't have any control over it, and I can remember shit that happened 30 years ago, right? I can remember song lyrics. I can remember what I was doing on this day, and I can remember like crazy shit like that. But I can't remember if you told me something like 2 days ago. It's caused a lot of problems in relationships, friendships, relationships. It's stuff like that because what ends up happening is someone tells me something, and I'm like, "Oh, wait, what? What are you talking about?" And then they'll say something more about it. Like they'll ask me, "Do you remember this?" No, what? No. And then they'll mention something about it, then boom, it all pops right back into my brain and I remember everything about it. I'll say, yeah, okay, yeah, I remember now. But people have told me like in the past, like, oh, you just don't listen to me. Like you don't care what I have to say. And it's not that. It's like really, I can't choose what I remember. And I've gotten multiple arguments about it. And I promise you, like, I really care what everyone that talks to me has to say, but it's like sometimes my brain just shoots it out. I don't know where it puts it, hides it away somewhere because it'll come back if you just if I get that little spark. Hey, I'll remember everything about what you said, and that's right. But fuck, man, it'll just disappear sometimes. And from what I've heard, it's just because like there's so much going on in there that it kind of files it away for a while. Files shit that may not be super important, but it is important. But it chooses what to file away and what to remember because there's just so much going on at one time. The brain doesn't have the power to have everything right there. So that's what happens. Not my fault. I'm not stupid. I'm not dumb. Just have ADHD. And I do care. I do care what you have to say. But I just remember like ADHD or like ADD back, when I was in like middle school or high school and stuff. Like being the kids that were hyperactive and bouncing off the walls and all that kind of stuff. And, I had a homie in I want to say like 10th, 11th grade. In high school, I had a homie that would sell his Ritalin, and he would say like, "Oh, well, they give me this because I got ADHD, but I don't like it, so I'm just going to sell it, and it'll make you hyper." And I remember I only tried it one time. Like he used to sell it to a lot of kids, and they would just be like, "Oh man, this is great. It's like speed." But for me, like I tried it one time and it didn't do anything, and I was like, I should have known then, but I didn't know that was the case, right? But I remember trying it one time and I was like, I don't like this. I don't feel anything. So I thought, that's kind of funny. But that's what I thought about it when I was younger. That's the hyperactive kids, right? And it wasn't literally until like maybe 2 years ago I started realizing that, hey, a lot of my issues in life have come from these symptoms that are actually ADHD. Now, I'm not gonna go take any drugs for it. I'm just gonna deal with it. I just think it's interesting that I feel like I know what's wrong with me now. And I'm not trying to say that it's something wrong with me. That's a bad way to put it, but I know what my issue is. I know it explains like everything in my life. I like to. So sometimes I'll have like all this time. Like I'll have a day off, and I'll know. Oh, Saturday I'm going to be off, right? And so I'm gonna work on the podcast, or I'm gonna work on a painting, or I'm gonna work on one of my hobbies, right? Like work on some music, right? So I say, oh yeah, so I'm gonna get some shit done today. Like I have chores to do because maybe I'm only off one day, or I got all this shit to do in a day, and I'll tell myself, okay, well shit, man, Saturday I'm gonna have all this time, right? And I'll wake up sometimes early as fuck, sometimes 6 a.m. because I get up usually 2, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So sleeping until 6 or 7 is like sleeping in for me. And I'll get up and be like, fuck, man, I don't have to go to bed till 8 or 9 tonight. Fuck, dude, I got 12, 13 hours. I'm gonna knock out some shit today. And I'll lay there, make some coffee. Oh, coffee, another thing. ADHDers love fucking coffee. I don't know how Mormon ADHDers fucking do it. They don't drink coffee. But anyway, um, I wake up, let's call it 6 o'clock, and 2 minutes later, it's fucking 11, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's 11 o'clock already. I've sat here watching TV and drinking coffee for 5 fucking hours, and I haven't done anything yet. Knock that off, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, I got to get going. I got to get going. So I'll get up and start doing some chores, and then I'll sit down. The worst enemy of anyone with ADHD is sitting down, because the next thing you know, I'm stuck. ADHD paralysis. And I tell myself, I'm going to get up. I got to get up. I'll go. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's one thing about me is all my comedy is from movies and TV. And that's the ADHD thing too, is like everything reminds me of movies or TV, and I'll have to say the quote or have to say something about it. Like, I'm so dumb. I'm not original. Everything I say that's funny is from movies, and it's not even funny. But anyway, like I was saying, I will, have time where I can do a bunch of shit, and the ADHD paralysis will just stop me. I'll be disappointed at the end of the day, like, I got fucking nothing done. But on the opposite side of that, when I do actually do something, like I clean my whole apartment or actually do an episode of this fucking podcast, I feel so accomplished and it feels so good. And I wish I could just like get past that 5, 6 hours, 7 hours a day where I don't do shit, where I just sit there. I got to find ways to motivate myself to get shit done. Some days I do nothing all day, even though I want to. I really, really want to. I do absolutely nothing. And it fucking sucks. I hate it. I mean, I know that sometimes I need to take a break, but I am the kind of person that I have so many things I want to. I'm creative, I guess. I like to be creative. And once I do accomplish something and get it done, it just feels great. And like I will accomplish something if there's like a really major sense of urgency. I'll get that shit done. And when I'm at work, I have to do that too. Like I have all these things going on at work. It's just like sensory overload, and I want to get everything done. All of it, all the things, every of the things I want to get done. So I'll be walking and I'll find one project and be like, okay, I'm working on this. And I try to tell myself, okay, just work on this. And then I'll go walk somewhere and I'll see another project I need to work on. So I'll start on that. And I'll be like, okay, well, that'll only take me like 2 minutes. I'll get this done real quick. And then I'll get pulled away and go somewhere else. And the next thing you know, I got like 10 things I'm working on at once. And people ask me like, why do you have all this stuff going on? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, you won't understand. And I gotta calm myself down and say, look, one project at a time, get it done. And I'm constantly jumping from project to project to project. So I have like 100 projects to do every single day. And it's hard for me to like focus on just one because every single one is in my brain is super important, right? So every day is a sense of urgency. So sometimes when I get home, like I don't want to do shit. I don't want to do anything. I want to lay there and watch TV. Not just because I'm tired, but just because my brain just can't process anything else. So if I try to do any kind of like creative project, that shit ain't happening. So I try to do things like when I'm off, when I can sleep all night and I can actually like get up and, actually focus on it. But then it takes me 5-6 hours to get started. What the fuck? But like I have sleep problems too. I always have. That's, my brain just sometimes doesn't shut off. I have to use like white noise because if it's like completely quiet, I can't sleep. I will not sleep if it's, hear every little noise and every little creak and every little just anything. So I have to have it like I have to have white noise or something like that, or else I won't sleep. So I set white noise on my phone all the time. It's basically a fan. It's an app that has like a fan, and I don't want to have a fan blowing on me all the time, which I used to. I used to always have a fan going, but now it's more like just I use an app for it. But my brain won't shut off sometimes. And when I used to drink, that was one of the problems. Like I used to tell myself it wasn't, that was part of it, but not being able to sleep. Sometimes I just drink, a couple beers because I knew that I wouldn't sleep if I didn't. And I would tell myself like, oh yeah, if you don't drink this and your brain's not going to shut off, you don't catch a little bit of a buzz, you're not going to fall asleep. So that had a lot to do with my drinking. And, people with ADHD always have some sort of addiction. It seems like they're alcoholics or drug users, stuff like that. And my alcoholism was a lot, because of that, and I can't really get into, explaining why it was, but I just, from what I've researched, like most people with severe ADHD are addicted to something, right? And there are times where like I do get really like hyper, right? And I'm very, I've always been very, extrovert or outgoing. But there are times where if I don't feel comfortable with the situation in the room or the people that I'm hanging out with, where I'll be quiet as fuck. And people will think like this guy is super quiet, but if you really know me, I'm not. Like I've always been like the life of the party, especially when I was drinking, right? Like I've always been that guy that just goes crazy. And there's times when I do feel comfortable with people, I will be that person. But then also I'll shut it off, I have issues with making eye contact. That's been an issue for a long time. That's an ADHD thing. I use a little trick where I just like stare at the space between, the foreheads between the eyes, like right above the eyes. I don't know if know what I'm trying to get at, picking up what I'm putting down. But I just stare at that, and it looks like you're looking at someone in the eye. But I have a problem with that. I also have had problems in the past with interrupting people when they're talking, like jumping in and speaking out of turn. Again, another like ADHD symptom. What else? I'm not looking at a list or anything, I promise. I'm lying. I took some notes and tried to get a little organized. I'm trying to get a little more organized for these episodes just so I kind of have notes, because half the time I just kind of wing it off the top of my head, off the top of the dome. But organization is actually a thing. Like I can either be super organized or super unorganized. Like I'll organize the shit out of my closet and then it'll just go out of whack for like weeks. Like I have a little thing that I hang my shoes on. It's this little like shoe. It's like a shoe hanger thing. I don't know what you fucking call it, but anyway, it's a place I put my shoes. And I never use it. Like I'll throw my shoes and just sit all over the floor, and then eventually I'll just like, after a couple weeks, get sick of looking at it. But I usually will just leave them on the floor, and then my dirty clothes, I have a little hamper, and I'll just throw them on the floor. I'll miss the hamper all the time until I just get sick of looking at it, and then I'm like, God, I gotta fucking clean this up. And then a couple days later, I'll clean it up. I saw this video. I think it was an Instagram thing, and this guy, he was like having that problem too, where like he would just come in and kick his shoes off right in front of his front door, and he got the idea, I'm gonna build a shoe rack. So he got the instructions, went and got all the wood and made it himself, and went and built a shoe rack and put all the shoes on nice and neat. And then it shows like a couple days later, all the shoes are sitting in front of the shoe rack, and he just kicks them off and throws them in the same spot right in front of the shoe rack. That's me, bro. That's so me. But so I'm very disorganized, but yet I'm very organized. It's really weird. But that's like, that's ADHD. I'm very bad at paying bills. Like, I'm very bad at it. I'll pay them at the last second when they're like threatening to shut shit off, and I get shit like my power. I get it shut off all the time, and it's like fuck. I know I have to pay the bill, and I'll have the money to pay the bill, and I just won't pay it. I'll be like, I'll pay it eventually, and then eventually, it's like, okay, you have to pay it right now because now you don't have power, bro. So it's something that happens all the time, and it's always been that way, and I just don't know why. I tell myself, pay the fucking bill, bro. It's like I'll pay certain bills on time, like my rent. I never miss a rent payment for some reason. I always pay my rent, but then I guess if I know that they won't shut something off, like the phone bill or the power bill, like they won't shut it off for a couple months, then I'm like, okay, I can wait. But then I wait too long, you know. God knows how many subscriptions, like free trials I've tried out for that I ended up paying a month for. Probably hundreds of dollars in that shit that I just end up with a free trial of something, and then I forget to shut off the free trial. And I'll tell myself, I'll even set myself a reminder, and then I still forget. But another thing I do, segue. My segues are great, aren't they? Another thing, I don't know how else to go into it, but another thing I do is called ADHD mirroring. I tend to take on accents or the way people talk when I'm hanging out with them for a certain amount of time. And I end up like, I've even gone into like a British accent or like, Southern Texas accent or something when I'm talking to somebody long enough, or, it's like I match energy with people a lot too. And it's like, it's so dumb. And I catch myself doing it. I'm like, dude, shut up. Like, it's so stupid. Like, even with like age, like if I'm talking to someone my age or someone older, like I'll talk like them, and I even, if someone's, younger, like Gen Z, that Gen Z speak, right? I'll be like, oh shit, that's fire. Dude, you don't talk like that. Like, what are you doing? Right? Like, on God, I don't fucking talk like that, dude. And I find myself saying stupid shit like that. But that's the ADHD mirroring. Like I said, I did some research on that. And I'm like, fuck, another thing I do. I mean, I also talk like movie characters when I'm, talking like movie quotes. Next thing you know, I'm like Ice Cube, I'm a gangster, you know. Like the other day, it was really funny. My girlfriend was gonna make like sandwiches or something like that, and she had some bread, but like didn't have anything to put on the bread, like nothing to really make a sandwich. And I was like, damn, y'all ain't never got two things that match. Got peanut butter, no jelly, ham, no burger. I thought it was funny, and she didn't really get it. I mean, she's seen Friday, but like, that's just my comedy. Like, that's, I had to pull out my phone and show her a YouTube video of what I meant. And that's probably annoying as shit, but I think I'm fucking hilarious. She probably thinks I'm annoying, but she loves me anyway. But I'm not original. And that's one thing about like finding out I had ADHD. Finding out that's really what was wrong with me is my whole life I've always felt like I'm unique, right? Like I'm weird and I'm unique. And ever since like high school, I've always felt like that, like I was different. And people have told me like, you're such a weirdo, you're so different, but cool, in a cool way, right? Always been that way. To come, to find out that like there's a lot of people that have this problem. There's a lot of people like me, like it's just ADHD. That was kind of disappointing in a way, because I feel like, I know I'm still like very unique and I'm different, but I'm not special. There's so many people that are exactly like me, and we express it in totally different ways. For me, it's always been, cracking jokes and being funny and being wild, and, in high school wearing funny clothes and dyeing my hair and just expressing myself in that way, and then partying and doing that kind of stuff, because that was just kind of the way I like to express myself. And other people just talk a lot, or, they're very caring. One thing that I know a lot of us struggle with is low self-worth as well. I feel like I've always felt like not good enough. Like I've always strived to be the best at everything I do, where it's work or even in relationships. I've always really, really tried to do really well in relationships. And I fucked up a lot. I admit that, I've messed up a lot, but I've always wanted to do good, and when I feel like I'm not, I just take it harder than most people, and it caused a lot of depression. It caused a lot of anxiety, depression. I hate not feeling good enough, and that's what it has caused because my brain just wants to do everything perfect, And I'm not a perfectionist, and I'm not like that, but it's just like I want to do things, and I want to learn and grow and do things and make people happy. And if I'm not able to do that, it really messes with me, and I have to work on that. Like, and sometimes I just can't. I can't cope, and I need time alone. A lot of times, I'll have a ton of shit just go wrong, and it's shit that happens, and it just bombards me, and there's times where I get really like I just feel like it's overload. Like my brain is just overloaded. I get so stressed out with work and life, and I the way I cope with it is I just honestly I self-isolate, and I'll take a day. I just need a day. And my girls like my girlfriend's really understanding of that. Like and those are rough times, but I can't have people talking to me, and it's just adds to the overload, right? It doesn't help. The only thing that helps is time with me, and I'm able to calm down, take a day, think about it. A lot of times I don't even think about it. I just like watch TV, but I need time to myself, and I'll wake up the next day feeling fine. It just I decompress and I'm fine. And it has to happen sometimes. I got a lot of shit going on. I got a lot of balls in the air. Balls. I swear, the things that make me laugh. I'm like 12 years old. I'm so dumb. But it would be really easy to just go and get drugs to try to focus on these projects, like these music projects I want to work on. Like I want to work on like a cover album of like all my favorite songs over the years. And I could literally sit down for maybe a day and finish it if I wanted to, maybe a day or two. I really want to do that, but I can't focus on it. It'd be easy to just go get drugs to do that, right? But I don't want to do that. I mean, I feel like I don't know a lot about the ADHD drugs, like whatever they give for ADHD. Like I don't know a lot about it, I'll be honest. Like, so I'm not going to talk about it. I just feel like with any kind of pharmaceuticals in general, any kind of drugs, I feel like for me, it's not necessary. It may help people, but I feel like people are getting addicted and it's not helping. It's causing more harm than good. Yeah, you might be able to get through that book that you're reading or that study cram session that you're trying to do and pass that exam, but like at what cost? At what cost? And I feel like a lot of kids get so much pressure to do good that they want to do something like that to get through it, and it causes addiction, and it causes future addiction. And I'm an addict, so I'm not going to take anything for this. I'm just going to figure it out on my own. And I feel like I do a good job, managing my ADHD. I mean, shit, I didn't even know I had it until maybe a couple of years ago. And then it was like all came into place. Like, oh, I was like, oh shit. But again, I'm not special. I'm not unique. I just choose to not do that kind of stuff. I guess the way I cope with it is like I drink a lot of caffeine. Like I mean, way too much. But I'm never like, it never makes me bounce off the walls. I never get jittery. I drink a lot of coffee. I drink a lot of, I drink energy drinks. I drink a lot of soda. None of which I'm supposed to have because of my stomach issues, but I still do. And that's how I cope with things. And I do take CBD. I really like CBD. That does help a lot too. But yeah, I mean, I just cope with it. What the fuck do I know? I'm just a kid from Lake LA. I'm just a kid from the desert, right? I don't know shit. I mean, I don't know things. But anyway, that's it for me. Thanks for listening again, guys. I love you. Peace.